What's up? My name's Rob, and today we're talking about recycling. So my original plan was to create some elaborate musical number outside to teach you about recycling, but due to high winds and my lack of musical theory knowledge, I had to rethink my strategy. So my next best option was to create an informational video in my old bedroom at my parents' house, so here we are. Let's rock and roll. Now, to make sure you believe me on all of this, I'm going to be using definitions and posting them right here from my good friend Merriam-Webster. So you know this is 100% academic and I'm not lying about anything. And that kind of sounded sarcastic, but I'm dead serious. This is not a lie. This is all true and you need to listen. So let's start with the basics. So the definition of recycle is to process something such as liquid body waste, glass, or cans in order to regain material for human use. So that's pretty self-explanatory, but in case you didn't know, that's what recycling is. So recycling is basically a process that stops us from just throwing away single-use plastics, like this Starbucks cup, and preventing it from ending up in places like landfills, or even worse, our oceans. Yeah, and making sure that we recycle is pretty much up to two people. The big dogs, and you, and me, and like us. The definition of government is the act or process of governing. Hold on. Alright, the definition of govern is to exercise continuous sovereign authority over, especially, to control and direct the making and administration of policy in blank place, like the United States or like the world. So basically the government's job is supposed to be to make sure that we're not polluting our earth a lot and we're kinda saving it. But oftentimes we get some homies that won't do that. So we really gotta step up to the plate more than the government, and that's why we need to focus on how we can actually properly recycle, because we can't just rely on people up in the big White House to do that for us. So our job is reducing, reusing, and recycling. Now reducing is pretty self-explanatory, just don't buy as many single-use plastic products. And reusing plastic products like this Starbucks cup, for example, I could just drink water out of it again, or just if you want to reduce, just take a cup to Starbucks, they'll fill it up with your drink for you. This is not just trash, and we shouldn't think of it as trash. And if we want to use it as trash, let's recycle it. But that's where it gets complicated. It's not just throwing your garbage into the green can with the cool symbol on it. It's way more delicate than that. Now, to clear up some confusion on how recycling actually works, it's not just taken by the government and just made into new plastic products. It's not that easy. It's collected by companies and has to be sold off to plastic producers in order for them to use that plastic in order to make new products. Now, our job is making sure these plastic products actually can be recycled and actually be used to make new plastic products. And I bet you're like, that's confusing. Don't we just throw them away and that's how it works, right? Wrong. If there's a recycling bin that just says plastics only, or aluminum, plastic, and paper recycling, if you just throw some random trash in there, not only are you just not doing anything, you're ruining it for everyone else. When you throw something away in a recycling bin that isn't made for what you're throwing away, all the trash in that recycling bin can no longer be recycled. It's straight up garbage. And the problem with garbage is that garbage isn't recycled, because recycled things are treasures and garbage is trash. And I bet you're like, oh, this video's over. That's super easy. All I have to do is just follow the directions, right? Wrong again, because it gets even harder. So take the Starbucks cup, for example. I rinsed this out because I drank water out of it, but let's say, just for example, it's filled with coffee and I'm like, this is bad. I'm gonna recycle this. If I just throw it away with a ton of coffee in it, or residue of coffee on the outside, and coffee is just all over this and gets over everything else in the recycling bin, just like throwing away things that aren't recyclable, it kind of ruins it for everyone else that's trying, because this actually probably won't be recycled. If the recycling company picks up just really dirty recyclable trash, then chances are they're not going to be able to clean that, and it's just going to end up as waste anyways. So again, we're not really making any steps forward. So I encourage you all to just rinse out your stuff, and if you don't have access to a place where you can do that, just try and keep your trash until you can rinse it out and then recycle it when it's nice and clean, so that it actually can be made and purchased and all that jazz into a cool new plastic cup. I have this stuff sack which I can just put trash in and throw it in my backpack if I'm not able to rinse it out or anything. Or better yet, if you want to throw in reusing stuff in here too, just get an old plastic or grocery bag that you have, keep that on you, and just put dirty trash in there and carry it around until you can rinse it out and recycle it. Our good friends over at National Geographic tell us that 91% of plastic that's been produced, which is 8.3 billion metric tons, goes unrecycled and just ends up in landfills or the ocean or just in pollution out in the street or forest. And that's just a really sad thing. At the end of the day, buy less single-use plastics, reuse the ones that you already have, and help educate one another on what I hope you learned in this video to be proper recycling. We need to save this beautiful, gorgeous planet that we live on, because if we don't, we're all kind of